Hey, it's Steve with About Mansfield, and just like the past few weeks, we're changing things up a little bit while I take some personal time off. I should be back in the saddle next week, and I will have a big announcement, and I'll also tell you why I've been taking some time off. In the meantime, our feature reporters, Angel and Brian, have each filed reports, and we will hear from them momentarily, and then follow it up with a fun interview that we originally aired back in 2022 with jury bailiff Paula Giaimo Morales. We thank you all for listening. Talk to you next week. In the meantime, let's turn the page to the feature section.
Are you ready to level up your game day readiness and ensure the safety of your athletes? I'm Angel Biasatti, and you will hear more next with Methodist Mansfield News to Know.
In this week's Cocktail of the Week, I'll be talking about a cocktail that is a blended taste of Caribbean sunshine.
Hey there, it's Luke from Cool Hand Electric. Are you tired of dealing with plugs or lights that just won't cooperate? Well, don't fret. Give us a call. Worried about power outages or surges damaging your precious electronics? We've got you covered. Whether it's a whole house generator or surge protection, our solution-oriented Cool Hands are ready to tailor the perfect option that suits your needs and budget. At Cool Hand Electric, excellence is still cool.
Cool Hand, Cool Hand, Cool Hand, where excellence is still cool.
Hi, this is Paul Duncan with Trinity Roofing and Construction. There are over 7,500 roofers in the North Texas area, and when a major hailstorm blows through town, that number skyrockets with companies as far away as Montana. In the planning stages of re-roofing your home, it's normal for customers to ask questions such as, where are they based out of and how many years' experience do they have roofing in North Texas? Trinity Roofing and Construction can answer each of these questions with confidence. As a family-owned, Mansfield-based business since 2011, Trinity Roofing and Construction recently received a Product Excellence Award by Owens Corning and are a Platinum Preferred Contractor with Owens Corning. Contact us today for a free, no-obligation video roof inspection. Rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau, Trinity Roofing and Construction. A Mansfield company, not only replacing roofs, but building relationships. Find us on the web at trinityroofingconstruction.com. That's trinityroofingconstruction.com.
Are you ready to create unforgettable memories? Picture this, an enchanting event venue nestled amidst breathtaking landscapes with panoramic views right here in Mansfield. The Grandview Event Center is the perfect setting to bring your vision to life. From intimate gatherings to large-scale extravaganzas, the Grandview has flexible spaces to accommodate any occasion, be it a wedding reception, corporate Christmas party, or community gathering. Book your next unforgettable experience at thegrandviewmansfield.com. That's thegrandviewmansfield.com. The Grandview Event Center, where memories are made and dreams become reality. Book your event today.
Hi, I'm Vandella Menifee, professional volunteer. You're listening to About Mansfield.
Are you ready to level up your game day readiness and ensure the safety of your athletes? Mark your calendars for Saturday, August 3rd from 8 to 10 at Vernon Newsom Stadium for an action-packed sideline management assessment response techniques or SMART workshop. This dynamic and hands-on workshop is designed for everyone involved in sports, from coaches and athletic trainers to first responders and sports enthusiasts. Imagine having the confidence and skills to make real-time decisions that can save lives and prevent injuries on the field or court. Here's what you can look forward to at the SMART workshop. Musculoskeletal medicine mastery. Get the lowdown on assessing and managing injuries to your muscles, bones, and joints. From sprains to dislocations, you'll be ready for it all. Concussion command. Concussions are no joke. Learn to spot the signs and manage the aftermath, ensuring a safe return to play for your athletes. Head and neck injury know-how. Discover life-saving techniques to stabilize and treat critical head and neck injuries, giving you the tools to act swiftly and effectively. By the end of this high-energy workshop, you'll have the skills to tackle these critical scenarios with confidence. Acute spine injury, acute fracture or dislocation, suspected concussion and head injury, airway management for an athlete in distress, and acute cardiac events. This isn't just a training, it's empowerment. Coaches, school staff, parents, and sports lovers alike will benefit from these essential skills. Knowing how to react in critical moments can save lives and keep our athletes in the game. So join us on Saturday, August 3rd from 8 to 10 at Vernon Newsom Stadium for an experience that'll make you an MVP in energy management. To register for the SMART workshop, visit methodisthealthsystem.org/SMART. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep supporting our athletes. Until next time, this is Angel Biasatti for the About Mansfield podcast.
This week's cocktail of the week is the daiquiri. The daiquiri, a classic cocktail enjoyed by rum enthusiasts worldwide, has a rich history dating back to the late 19th century. The drink is named after the small Cuban village of Daiquiri, located near Cuba, where the first cocktail was first created. The story goes that in 1898, during the Spanish-American War, an American mining engineer by the name of Jennings Cox invented the daiquiri. Cox, who was working at the iron mines near Daiquiri, ran out of gin while entertaining American guests, and he substituted rum, mixing it with lime juice and sugar and serving it over ice. The drink was a hit, and the daiquiri was born. As the popularity of the daiquiri grew, it made its way to the United States, where it gained a following among the literary and celebrity elite. Ernest Hemingway, not surprisingly, a notorious rum lover, helped to popularize the drink through his frequent visits to the El Florida bar in Havana, where he enjoyed his own variation of the cocktail, the Hemingway daiquiri. But don't worry about taking notes as I'm giving out the ingredients and instructions. I'll always post them on bourbongospel.com. So how do you make the classic daiquiri? 2 ounces of white rum, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice, and a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Fill a cocktail tin with ice, add the rum, lime juice, and simple syrup to the shaker, put the top on, usually a good tip, and then shake for 15 to 20 seconds until well chilled. Then double strain the cocktail into a chilled coupe glass, and then garnish with a lime wheel. But like the classic daiquiri, the frozen daiquiri is a popular variation which emerged in the 1940s with the invention of the electric blender. This slushy, refreshing version of the drink quickly gained popularity, particularly in tropical destinations and beach bars. The cocktail is made exactly the same way: 2 ounces of white rum, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. Differently, you're going to pour it all into the blender for about 30 seconds and then pour the frozen daiquiri into a chilled glass. Over time, both the classic daiquiri and the frozen have seen countless variation and adaptations. From the strawberry daiquiri to the banana daiquiri, bartenders have experimented with different fruits and flavors to create new and exciting takes on the original recipe. Today, the daiquiri remains a beloved cocktail enjoyed by rum lovers and cocktail enthusiasts around the world. Whether you prefer the simple, sophisticated elegance of the classic recipe or the frosty, fruity, fun or the frozen version, the daiquiri is a testament to the timeless appeal of a well-balanced rum cocktail. So the next time you're in the mood for a taste of the tropics, mix up a daiquiri, frozen or classic, and raise a glass to Jennings Cox and the enduring legacy of this classic Cuban cocktail. As always, I'm open to hear your take and your input. You can reach me at brian@bourbongospel.com. And until next week, as Mark Twain said, too much of anything is bad, but too much whiskey is barely enough. Reporting for the About Mansfield podcast, I'm Brian Certain.
Hey there, it's Luke from Cool Hand Electric. Are you tired of dealing with plugs or lights that just won't cooperate? Well, don't fret. Give us a call. Worried about power outages or surges damaging your precious electronics? We've got you covered. Whether it's a whole house generator or surge protection, our solution-oriented Cool Hands are ready to tailor the perfect option that suits your needs and budget. At Cool Hand Electric, excellence is still cool.
Cool hand, cool hand, cool hand, where excellence is still cool.
I'm Philip Washington, Chief Investment Officer of Stonehill Wealth Management and host of the Wealth Building Made Simple podcast. First book I read in college was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it changed my life. And since then, I've read tons and tons of books on money. And what I've done is taken those lessons, simplified them, and I talk about those lessons on my podcast, Wealth Building Made Simple. So come hang out with us. We're on every major platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, Wealth Building Made Simple.
At Methodist Mansfield Medical Center, we've been caring for our home team for over 15 years. Today, you'll find award-winning physicians on the medical staff, advanced neurosurgery, a Level 3 trauma center, critical care for newborns, and comprehensive orthopedic care. Methodist Mansfield, delivering the care our friends, neighbors, and home team depend on. That's community, and why so many people trust Methodist.
Hi, this is Joe Jenkins with Joe Jenkins Farmers Insurance, specializing in auto, home, commercial, and life insurance. I was born and raised here in Mansfield, Texas. We're active in the community, and Mansfield's a town we really care about. Our office has over 30 years' experience in the insurance industry, and we're passionate about what we do and about customer service. For a free quote, please visit our website at joejenkinsinsurance.com or give us a call at 817-472-6058. Once again, that website is joejenkinsinsurance.com.
Imagine a city where innovation knows no bounds, where dreams take flight, and the future unfolds before your very eyes. Welcome to Mansfield, a beacon of growth and a testament to vision. In the heart of Mansfield, a remarkable transformation is underway. But it's not just about the physical landscape. It's about the spirit that drives us forward. A spirit of collaboration that bridges cultures, a spirit of entrepreneurship that fuels prosperity, and a spirit of community that binds us as one. Mansfield is more than just a place. It's a canvas where diversity paints the picture of progress. From art festivals that ignite creativity to tech hubs that redefine boundaries, this city celebrates every voice, every passion. Mansfield, where growth knows no limits and the vision is limitless. Brought to you by the unstoppable spirit of the Mansfield Economic Development Corporation.
Hi, I'm Olympian athlete Jasmine Moore, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to another segment of About Mansfield. I'm Steve Casillo as we make the transition from news to talk. And chances are pretty good, even though our guest here in the studio, she does not live in Mansfield. She does not work in Mansfield. So you're going, okay, so what's the tie-in to About Mansfield? Chances are pretty good if you're an adult, if you've lived in Mansfield probably more than 5, maybe more than 10 years, her work has affected you if you have been summoned to jury duty. And so in the studio today is Paula Giaimo Morales.
Hi.
Welcome to About Mansfield.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And so in the 17 years that I've lived here, I've been summoned to jury duty 3 times. And every time the summon comes in the mail, your name is on it. Because if anybody has any questions about jury duty, it says to contact the jury bailiff, which is your title. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Paula Giaimo Morales. And before we get into jury duty, because as we always do in these interviews, I always like to know about the person that I'm interviewing. And so, Paula, first of all, Giaimo is your maiden name.
That's correct.
Morales, your married name.
That's right.
Where were you born?
So believe it or not, I'm an Air Force brat. And so I was born in Minot, North Dakota.
Minot, North Dakota. I am the only person that I know of my friends that actually knows someone, aside from you. A friend of mine is a radio DJ in Minot, North Dakota.
Oh, how funny is that? Well, I was born there.
Yeah.
I have a middle sister who was born 20 months before me, and we lived there 6 weeks after I was born, and I've never been back. So I'm a North Dakotian by birth, but then I've lived in Texas ever since I was, I think, 18 months old.
As an Air Force brat, then did you move around? You said to Texas, but did you move around?
No. I always say my dad cheated me because I was the last child. And so we went from North Dakota to California for a very short time. That's where they were from. And then to Texas. And when I was 10, they're like, okay, Sergeant, we want to transfer you to Greece. And my dad was like, no, thank you. I'll retire. You've already got my 20 years and I'll leave. So I got to go nowhere.
You could have gone to Greece.
I could have gone to Greece. And having been to Greece as a grown-up, I wish I could have gone. I'm so mad.
Where in California were they from?
Originally in the Los Angeles area, the Orange County area.
Okay.
Thousand Oaks.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know it well.
Yeah, okay.
I spent 44 years in San Diego.
Okay.
And occasionally crossed into Orange County. But Thousand Oaks and...
So our families are originally from there, both my mom and my dad. Okay. And so my grandmother lived in Downey, and my mom had lived in Orange County in Little Palm area. Mm-hmm. And so I still have family that's there. And so I enjoy going there all the time to see them.
From San Diego, the only thing that separates Orange County and the growth of heading into San Diego County would be that 17-mile stretch of Camp Pendleton, yes, which is just open, barren land with a few barracks here and there. But Los Angeles really could have grown all the way into San Diego had it not been for that 17-mile stretch.
Oh, yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And it's even growing up in my 20s, which was a few years ago, it was always if you have to go into Orange County, it's considered having to go to L.A.
Oh, yeah.
I have to go to San Juan Capistrano. I got to go to L.A.
Yeah.
Even though L.A. is still another hour beyond.
And its own little entity. I mean, it's its own little life, but you still kind of do it inclusively. I know I do, but I wasn't raised there, but that's what I certainly refer to.
Right. You moved to Texas. And I'm sorry, what part of Texas?
In North Pembroke. So it's West Fort Worth, right there on the edge of Pembroke and Fort Worth.
So you've been here your entire life? My
whole life, pretty much.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to high school at Western Hills in Pembroke. Well, it's Fort Worth, Pembroke area. And then when I graduated from Western Hills, I went to Tarrant County College for 2 years and got an associate's degree there. And then I transferred from there to TCU, and I got my bachelor's in criminal justice in 1990 from TCU.
I had a feeling as a bailiff, it would be criminal justice.
What's interesting is my position is by statute, I have to be a jury bailiff to run the jury room.
Yeah.
But there's nothing law enforcement wise. Like I don't carry a gun. I don't wear the polyester uniform. None of that's going to be working for me. It used to be jury administrator. And then they did some research on the law and they're like, no, if you're going to have a person that oversees a jury room, it must be a bailiff.
Huh. Do you have a badge?
I don't have a badge.
No badge. Mm. No badge, no gun.
No badge,
no
gun,
uniform.
And no uniform. More importantly, no uniform.
But you do carry the title as bailiff.
I do. And I do have to uphold the law. So I just have to make sure that we fall into all that realms. But everybody thinks that if you're a bailiff that you have a gun and a badge, and it's nothing like that.
Let's talk about jury duty. Why does everyone hate jury duty?
Okay, so I can tell you this from experience, because when I started in the jury room, I was fresh out of college. I think I graduated in May, and I started in the jury room as a clerk in October of 1990. At that time, we were not automated. Everything was by hand. I used to hand type the checks in triplicate. So that's how I started. People hated jury duty because you showed up on Monday and then they would send you to a court. If they didn't pick you, send you back to the jury room. We send you out to another court. And then you would come back every single day for 5 days. Now, back then we paid $10 a day. So if you worked at GD or I think it's Lockheed now or Bell Helicopter, you loved it because they would pay your salary and you would make $10 a day. So for the people who it didn't interrupt their life, it wasn't bad. But for, I would say, the quote unquote normal people or the self-employed, it was terrible because you were just showing up every single day wondering if you were going to be used or not. So that's how it started for me. But quickly after I came on board, we automated. And I started in 1990 and we were automated by, I think, May of 91. Being able to print out the checks, being able to print the jury summons. I mean, it was a huge, huge relief for us not having to do everything so manual. And so from that point on, we were able to change the scope of everything. The lady that hired me, she used to own a real estate business, and I worked under her. Her name was Linda Bierman Davis, and she actually did real estate. And then she transferred into the county and became the jury administrator at that time. And she's like, we're running this like a business. And that's what changed everything.
Right.
She started taking into consideration the business person, not just it's your civic duty, you have to show up. It's like, no, these people's time are valuable. And if we can keep them better suited, when they get to the courtroom, it's going to be happy. They'll be happier, get it done and over with, so we've come so far. People don't hate jury duty like they used to.
Right.
So I'm happy about that altogether.
I would actually love to serve on a jury. I've been summoned 3 times. I have not been chosen at any one of those 3 times. But you're right. You mentioned self-employed people. Even though I work in a building where there are 100 employees behind me, I'm self-employed. Mm-hmm. I own a business where it's just me, myself, and I. So when I go to jury duty, my business closes. There are no employees here to help generate income while I'm away. And so with that, you were nice enough to assign me to a justice of the peace, which in most cases guarantees you're going to be in and out in a day. And so with that, I can imagine with other self-employed people that, okay, yeah, I'd really like to get in. I'd really like to get back to work. And this was a case that happened when I served 3 weeks ago. Mm. All cases were dismissed. We were sent home. Oh, even the bailiff who was working our particular courtroom was joking with the other 25 jurors, prospective jurors. So what are you going to do with your day? Why don't you go play golf or something? And I said, I'm going back to work. Because that's what we self-employed people do.
Not a whole lot of breaks for you guys. And I'll tell you, for me, so I worked in the jury room from 1990 to 1999, just moving through every position. And then when my boss retired, she actually moved to Justice of the Peace Court in Arlington. She became Judge Davis there. When she left, I was like, you know what? I've been in the jury room for 9 years. I'm not even using my degree. I think I want to try something different. So I left the jury room in May of 1999 and became a probation officer, which I didn't realize it at the time, but it gave me so much experience inside the courtroom and seeing how things functioned that when the current jury administrator, she retired. It was Peggy Matthews. She retired. And so when she retired, they opened up the position. And when I applied for it, I was surprised that not a whole lot had changed in the 5 years that I was gone. The only thing that they had done is added where you could go, you could use the IVR system to do a postponement.
IDR meaning?
IVR, it's the voice part where you call in and it's automated.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what that stands for, but yeah. So when I applied for the job, I was like, that's it. Nothing's really changed. So I did this huge presentation about how Travis County does online reporting, and I don't know why we couldn't bring that to Tarrant County. So they hired me in 2005 to run the jury room. And then in 2007, we had hired a software developer and we created a program. They took us on as their first client. So they kind of took my brain and put it into their system. And then when we got to the online component, they literally picked my brain apart and was like, okay. And it was hard for me because our judges, they weren't against it, but nothing was broken. Yeah. So it's hard to convince people when it's not broken, do you really need to fix it? But I was like, come on, it's 2000s. We got to do something. And so we took a few pilot courts and started doing the online system. And a few times we would just summons people, bring them to the courtroom and be like, okay, you don't have a trial today. How was your experience getting here? How'd you like the online? What worked for you? And I'll never forget the first day. It was an 83-year-old lady. She's like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. I went online. I answered those questions. I'm disappointed we don't have a trial, but it was the easiest thing for me to do. When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a home run. It's going to work out perfectly for everybody. Yeah. And it was, there was some growing pains that we had to go through with the courts. We learned that if you have a court that says, we don't want to do online, you say, I need to talk to the judge and let the judge tell me that. Because the staff, it was a little bit more work on the court bailiffs because they had to worry about the prisoners and the jurors coming in. So we found out that the court bailiffs were the ones who really didn't want to do the change. But once the judges got on board, now every court wants an online jury, just as faster. I mean, like,
right.
You did your questionnaire online to make sure you were qualified, and then you got the court assignment email, and you did the court's questionnaire, and then you showed up straight to the courtroom.
That's right.
I mean, it's super easy.
How many people back before it was automated, how many people would show up to the jury pool room?
Before it was automated in the civil courts building, we would probably have standing room only about 300 people.
Wow.
And then when we moved to the new building and we're automated, we would have a panel Monday morning of 600, 700 people with standing room only. And then we would have an afternoon panel Monday afternoon of about 400 people. And then we expanded and did jury call every single day of the week. When we added the Friday jury calls, we could have people report on Friday. Back then, they would fill out a questionnaire and report to the court on Monday. So it was time consuming for the juror because they had to come back for 2 days. Voir dire, instead of it costing $6 a day, costed $46 a day.
Right.
Or 46 because you'd have 2 days. So once we got to put the online in place, now we don't have to have double panels. Now I can summons as many people as I need. So on a Monday, I need about 1,000 people to serve. Well, the room would only hold 700, and that was if we had everybody standing, which back then, we were always in fear of the fire marshal coming through because they had come through before and been like, if we see this many people again, we're going to cite you, you know? And then they would tell the judges, and then they would be upset with us. But the judges are like, well, they're not down there for very long. We're just getting them up to the courts. And now courts can have a jury panel every single week. Or every single day of the week. They can start at 9 o'clock in the morning. They can start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They have all this freedom of when they want to start their panels.
Does someone have to wait until they're summoned to jury duty, or can they fill out a form and volunteer for jury duty?
No, they don't allow you to do any kind of volunteering.
Okay.
Even for grand jury. Back before in 2015, you could volunteer to be on the grand jury and you just call in, put your name on a list. When it was time to do the grand jury, they would summons you for it. But the law changed, and now to serve grand jury, you have to be summoned as well. So my office does grand jury and petit jury.
What are the different levels of courts that the jury system works with? I would assume family court, which is what I was assigned to 3 weeks ago, would be the lowest level?
No. So initially, if you start at the bottom, the municipal court. But that's the cities. We don't do anything with them. With me, the next level is the Justice of the Peace Court. Okay. After the Justice of the Peace Court, you would have a county court at law, which is actually what you were assigned to. They just had to hold it in the family building because that judge likes to stay spread out.
Right.
After the county court at law, you would have a civil district court. Now, if you jump over to the criminal side, you would start with a county criminal court, and then it would go to a civil district court. And then the family courts, they're a district court as well. So all the district courts are the same level. So we have 52 courts.
52 courts, and they're all going at the same time.
And they all can go at the same time. We summons 8,000 people a week.
Wow.
We do about 35 court assignments a week out of those 52. And that might be one court having 3 trials and one court doesn't go to trial at all. It's just, but they have the capability. Before, they would just have to, whoever would call in first would get the first panel. And then if that one canceled, I'd send you to that, leave this courtroom, go to that courtroom. So now I feel like we're so much more appreciative of the jurors' time because I've seen it. And by me being a probation officer and seeing what happens in the courtroom and knowing, they've learned their lesson that if there's a defendant that says, I'm going to take a plea, well, you don't release that jury until the paper's signed.
Right.
Because if you release the jury, then they can be like, oh, never mind, I want a jury. So now we got to get another jury for them. So the courts are very smart in how they handle things.
So with the automated system, the jury pool room, is it still being used?
We do use it. So in Tarrant County, my online people who respond online is about 87%.
Okay.
So we have that 13% that still shows up to the room. And generally, just speaking generally, most of those are people who didn't read their summons in time because you have to register 2 days in advance.
Come on, people, read your summons.
If I could. I wanted to have, when they open up their summons, I wanted to have be a little pop-up that says, hello, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of information. I know it's just overwhelming for some. But we do put the online instructions on the back, so you don't even have to open it up.
Makes sense to
me.
I
mean, we try everything we can.
And the jury pool room is now right next door to the jury exit room. Is that correct?
Yes, it's all attached. So if you come to the Tim Curry Criminal Justice Center, so that's generally where the criminal courts are.
Yeah.
The check-in room is on one end and the dismissal room's on the other. We strive that when you show up for jury duty and you go to the courtroom, when they're done with you, you come to my room, we will pay you and give you a certificate all at the same time. I mean, you have the option to donate your check as well, but we try to do it all at once. If you're outside of the building, like the civil courts, they have their own building. And so the county court at laws and the family court, they have to go to the civil courts building for dismissal, but it's still super close and really easy.
Which type cases involve the most amount of jurors?
So right off the boat, you would say a criminal case.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
But
So, and there are degrees of that. So if I have a death penalty case, I generally have to have about 200 jurors for them to do an impanelment. So one court, we get 200 jurors. But I've had medical malpractices that have had 200 jurors as well in the civil courts. There's some of the family courts that have divorces that they'll order 80 people. So generally, just regular felony courts get 60 to 70 jurors. The civil courts, they get 40, 45 jurors.
Is it up to the judge then to request a specific amount of jurors?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a criminal case. You don't say, all right, it's a criminal case, I'm going to assign 300 jurors.
Right. So if it's just a regular case, we know there's 10 criminal district courts and we know what they like. But sometimes if it's a certain type of a trial, like if they have a injury to a child case and it's probation eligible, then the judge knows there's some people that if that person's found guilty, that they can't give probation. Just it's not in the juror's DNA. They just know that they can't do that. So they have to take that to an account. So sometimes they'll get a few extra jurors.
So you've been around the court system again since the 1990s.
Yes.
Do you ever watch Judge Judy, The People's Court?
I do.
You do?
I do, yes.
And are they fairly accurate?
No.
No.
I hate to say it like that. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But you generally would never see a judge act like that on the bench. You know, they're much more reserved and it's, I don't know. Like I watch Law and Order. That's my favorite show all the time, the SVU show. I watch that all the time. But I will sit there with my sister and be like, that never happens. You have the witness on the stand who has a black eye from when they were assaulted. I'm like, that trial's happening a year later.
Right.
You know, so none of that is accurate. I mean, some of it's good, but, you know, it's just more entertaining.
And everything gets figured out within an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is also pretty.
And they never show jury selection because jury selection is generally pretty long and boring.
Well, and we're going to talk about jury selection right after. Have you seen, apparently Steve Harvey now has his own where he's a judge.
I have not seen that, but I've heard of it.
It's a little where he actually steps down off the bench and puts his arm around whether it's the prosecutor or the defendant and says, really? Seriously? And oh yeah, it's all showbiz. But
well, I'm sure you saw, when they had the police officer shooting in Dallas,
right?
You know, and that judge came off of the bench and gave that.
Yes, she says, and hugged the
defendant.
Sister, the defendant.
The defendant.
Right.
She hugged the defendant. That was great TV. That's very rare. I mean, in my 32 years of working for the county, I have never seen anything like that happen. So I wouldn't say it never happens, but it's just not typical.
Let's talk about jury selection.
Okay.
All right. How, again, someone who wants to serve on a jury, what can I say when I'm being interviewed by an attorney that is going to help me stay on the jury selection as opposed to being dismissed?
Well, it's a little bit of a running joke because some of the attorneys will tell you if you want to get picked, don't talk. Because you're taking everything in, you don't have any. Usually, the people they're talking to are the ones who have problems, and they can't be fair. They can't listen to the whole case. They won't be biased. I mean, generally, if they're talking a lot, it's because there's an issue with that. But and like I say, it's a running joke because that's not always how it is. I actually was summoned to jury duty 3 years ago.
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. Have you ever been summoned?
Yes. I've been summoned 5 times, I think.
Okay.
In my lifetime of working in the jury room. And on the last one that I was summoned on, I was a civil district court. So, and I did online like everybody else. And I show up there and it's a new judge. This judge just got appointed and he tells everybody I'm new. So I have my bailiff help me work through stuff, and so they start questioning the jury panel. So they come to my questionnaire and they're like, oh, Miss Morales, we see that you're the jury bailiff. What does that mean? And I'm like, well, my job was to summons all these people to this room and make the assignment to bring them to you. And I was like, Judge, you don't know this, but you're my boss, because I'm not a normal county employee. I look like one and I have the benefits like one, but I'm actually appointed. So every 2 years, the district judges come together and they appoint a jury bailiff. So I've just been lucky enough to have that job since 2005. So I told the judge, you're actually my boss in case anybody has a problem with that. Neither of the attorneys said anything. The case was American Airlines versus American Airlines Fleet Service Clerk. It was a workman's comp case. The fleet service clerk wanted to stay on workman's comp because she was injured, and the other American Airlines people wanted it terminated. So that's the whole case in a nutshell. They get to me. Oh, we see your husband works for American Airlines. He does. He's been there 30 years. They're like, okay, what kind of job does he have? Fleet service clerk. They're like, can you be fair? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can be fair. Come to find, they picked me. They actually picked me on that case. Come to find out, the plaintiff knew my husband. They worked together.
Wow.
I had no idea. And her attorney wanted to, I found out later on that her attorney wanted to strike me. But she's like, no, because my husband's had workman's comp case before. I thought for sure that the American would have struck me. But they kept me on there. I mean, it was, to be fair, everybody that got picked on that jury, it took maybe 3 minutes to decide the verdict because it was clear that she needed to stay on workman's comp.
Yeah.
But it was just, I would have thought in a million years, they're going to strike me. I know people in the court. My husband works for the company. It's a done deal. I'm out of here. But they were like, nope.
Oh, that's funny. When I served 3 weeks ago, I posted on Facebook, I'm serving my civic duty, and one person responded with a story. He says, I was in the jury. They were going through jury selection, and the judge said to the jury, is there anyone here seated in the jury box that knows the defendant? And a woman stands up and says, yes, he's my ex-husband. And the person who was responding to my post says, you could not have seen a woman ushered out of a courtroom faster than this woman. And apparently it was a domestic violence case. So she's
scary.
she's brought in as a juror. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? That now you kind of had that connection between your husband but she was the defendant's ex-wife.
Yeah. That situation really doesn't happen that often, but you will have people from the same family on jury duty together and not know it. Like we had a Justice of the Peace Court in Arlington. So when we make those assignments, we make them online. And so these two, one was stepdaughter and stepfather, and they show up at the court. Neither one had any idea they both had jury duty for the day because it just wasn't something they were talking about. But they ended up on the same court, and they both got picked as well. So it's kind of hard to understand it, but weird stuff like that does happen from time to time.
What are some common ways of being dismissed from a court, from a jury?
Well, generally, people want to just come at you. If they don't want to serve, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm prejudiced." And then that starts because they think if I say these buzzwords, then that's going to get me out of here. Yeah. But it doesn't. When you say stuff like that, they have to validate everything, and it's on the record. So who are you prejudiced against? Why do you think, I've had people come up to me, they don't even know what case they're going to be on, and say, I just need to tell you that I'm prejudiced. Why are you telling me that? Well, my dad told me when I came in today to tell y'all that I was prejudiced. I mean, I've heard that a million times. We had a phone call today she said she was an essential worker for an ISD, and she asked my staff member, what color is the defendant? And my staff member was like, we have no idea. We have 52 courts. We have no idea what court you're going to. We would know that information. And her point was, well, I just don't have time for this.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people think that if they lead with race or a bias that they're just going to be done. That's generally not the case because they have to put all that stuff on the record.
Going back to the jury room, the jury pool room, you've got 700 people there. One of the first things that you announce is that you cannot be dismissed. You cannot declare hardship to be dismissed. And next thing you know, you've got 100 people standing in line waiting to talk to you. What are some of the better, more outlandish stories that people come up to you wanting to be dismissed?
I would say, so generally at that part, the stories aren't that, they're just the same. I want to say, like, I haven't heard a news story in a really long time, because people will try to come up with something. But since the law changed where you can defer your service, that kind of is a big game changer for everybody. So for me, they would say, oh, I don't have any money to serve. I can't do this. And those are just kind of normal excuses for people who are having hardships. And we would just defer them to give them more time. I mean, I've had some pretty inappropriate people come up and tell me that I had a man one time who told me he had a medical condition where his body was in a constant state of arousal. And this was pre little blue pills, and I'm making eye contact. I'm not breaking away from anything. And he's like, well, I have this problem and I've been seeing my doctor about it. And he's in a business suit. Yeah. And I'm like, and he's like, oh, my wife is 9 months pregnant. And I'm like, well, of course she is, if that's your issue. But, and he was just like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, and I offered to, reschedule to a later date to get a letter from the doctor. No, never mind. I'll just stay. So, all of that leads to, are you serious? Come on. I've gotten letters from doctors that have said this person is not suitable for jury duty because they have a marijuana and a cocaine addiction. Now, you wouldn't expect your doctor to write that. You just be like, okay, they're not medically suited. But some of the doctors will go all the way out on that you're like, okay, that's what, we don't want that person right now. So
you'd mentioned in a criminal case that you may assign as many as 200 possible jurors. Mm-hmm. If my recollection of the courtroom is correct, attorneys only get 3 dismissals each, don't they?
No. So if you're talking about the strikes, so it depends on the kind of case that it is. So if it's the case that you were going to, yes, that's what they would have gotten. The attorneys would have gotten 3 strikes each. But then they can allow for a challenge for cause. So there could be a reason that they don't have to use a strike that they wouldn't want you serving. And that just depends on the type of case it is. For the ones that we have 200, so for example, there's a case that we had going on during COVID. So right before the shutdown, the quarantine, it was a capital murder case. We had 200 people. We used my big room for that. Mm-hmm. We had them impaneled. They did a 20-page questionnaire on those types of cases. The juror comes back for a 1-hour individual interview. So, and it's one at a time. It's not the big panel of 60 people. It's one at a time. And so we had just had the 200 people impaneled ready to do that. Well, when the shutdown came, they mistrialed that case. Oh. And then the next year we still didn't go. And then January of this year, they started that case again. And we went 6 weeks. It takes 6 weeks to pick a jury. They picked that jury, and they picked the jury last Thursday. And then that defendant took a plea on Monday.
Oh, no.
So all of that, and I say work and money because you have to imagine the defense is generally, I'm not certain on that case, but I'm pretty sure most of those are appointed. And so the state's paying the cost for that. They have the cost of the prosecution. And then my jurors get, the first day they show up, they get $6. Every day after that they come in, it's $40 a day. Right. So you can imagine if you're paying, I think they interviewed everybody, got it down to 60 people. And then out of the 60, they picked 16. So by the time they picked the 16, those jurors had already been in 3 times. So you can see the amount of money that we spent. But even taking a plea at that point, it still saves the county a whole lot of money. Because once somebody goes on death row, there's a whole different cost that comes with that.
Did COVID change the way the jury is being selected, the jury is being summoned to, if anything, what did COVID do to the jury process?
Well, it really did shut us down. I mean, like the federal courts, they never shut down. But for us, the Supreme Court put in a rule that said if you have to have a jury trial, because there are some cases that you absolutely have to have a jury trial, they put in safeguards that we had to have. Like we had to do the social distancing and measure out the chairs. You had to bring the jurors in and get it approved from the judge. So the judge of the court would write the local administrative judge and the 8th administrative judge and say, we have to have this trial. Both of those had to agree, and you had to have a process on how you were going to bring those jurors in and keep them safe. So for the whole time of COVID, I would say 2020, 2020, we had 4 trials. 4 trials.
In 2020.
When we started from the shutdown to the end of the year.
About March of 2020.
Yes, we had 4 trials.
That's it.
That was it. And those were trials that had to happen. Okay. Now, we still had people that were summoned that we still had to handle all that. And I had my staff working from home, so we could remote work. But 4 trials when we normally have 1,900.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So you can imagine the backlog that created. And then the next year in 2021, we were starting, but we still had to do the social distancing. So we could only have one trial a day, and they had to use my jury room to pick for for the criminal cases. So I think I don't remember if I took a number on those, but I bet we probably did, maybe 200 trials in the whole year, because people weren't comfortable coming back when then we'd have a surge. The way that we've changed it to right now, the only difference is when you go online or you report in person, you have to do a COVID questionnaire, because we want to keep people as safe as possible. And you would think if you have a fever, you would not show up to the courtroom.
Right.
I wish I could.
Whether it was COVID or not.
Right.
Could be a flu, could be a cold.
Exactly. And I would like to say that happens. Unfortunately, it does not. I have jurors that show up with a fever, all these COVID symptoms, and then I'm like, well, I've got to turn you away. I've got to keep these people safe, you know? And so some people get irritated with us, but that's kind of the shocking part of COVID, that you still have people that aren't really paying attention to it.
A friend of mine is a court reporter, and through COVID, she had been doing a lot of depositions via Zoom. Is it legal to do a trial via Zoom? You've got 12 or 16 jurors that are all logged in on Zoom. You've got the defendant, you've got the prosecutor, you've got the judge all logged in on Zoom. Is that, I don't even know if that's legal.
Well, it's not illegal.
Oh, okay.
So the Supreme Court made some adjustments to this, because for grand jury, you have to have a grand jury that's in session. So when the Supreme Court came through with the COVID, they're like, if you're going to hold a grand jury, you have to give them the option to do Zoom. Now, that was just picking the grand jury. So we would have people that would log on, we'd have people in the room, and the judge would have to pick the grand jury from all these people. But then if they were picked, they would have to come in person. I know a lot of the judges had hearings. They might have had some non-jury trials through Zoom, but we didn't have any jury trials through Zoom at all. One of the problems is when you're on a jury, you can't have any interaction with anybody. And if we're sitting here talking and you see me on Zoom, I don't know if there's somebody standing at your door saying, they're crazy, or, don't pay, you don't know what kind of interaction the juror has with other people that could be listening to the same case.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. We were just too skittish. We didn't have a need to do that. If we were going to have a trial, we were going to follow the rules and have everybody come in like they were supposed to.
So 1,900 cases, and there were only 4 cases in 2020. What happened to the other 1,896 cases?
They all got rescheduled. They didn't go. I know that they did like a docket to try to push everything through. And some people got probations, or maybe they didn't have a case and it got dismissed or something. And even though we have 1,900 jury trials, not all those trials go. Right. That's what they're ordering. And a lot of times, you can't imagine a defendant, especially speaking in a criminal case, they want to see the jury out there before they take a plea. But even again, if they take it at the last minute, it saves everybody a ton of money. So, for the most part, most of those trials just got rescheduled. We just happened to be, when the shutdown happened, we happened to be right in the process of doing 2 death penalty cases. And so we had to reset both of those. They both mistrialed. And that's just a lot of money that just had to be redone.
Mistrial, though, doesn't always mean, or maybe it does, that the trial is over. Can it be rescheduled?
Yes.
Okay.
Generally, the mistrial is, we can't go forward with what we have right now. We need to release everybody, especially the jury, release them, and we're going to have to start all over again.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
It doesn't mean mistrial means we stop here and it's all over.
Right.
Set the defendant free.
Right.
Let him. Okay.
Now, there could be cases where that does happen. Like the prosecution might be presenting something that they cause as mistrial, and then they dismiss the case or dismiss the indictment. That's just outside of my wheelhouse.
Okay. Is there anything you want to tell the listener that maybe I haven't asked about jury duty, the process of jury duty, or anything that you want to say?
Yeah. Well, first, let me say, a lot of times people want to know, how am I selected? And I will tell you, the selection comes from voter registration and driver's license. And if you don't have a driver's license, but you have an ID card, you're still going to be on our jury list. So we don't make the list. Election sends the voter registrations to the state. DPS sends ID cards and driver's license to the state. The state makes the list and sends it to me. So a lot of times those lists don't always match up because you might have somebody who has a different name on their voter registration than their driver's license. When that happens, the state thinks you're two different people. Mm-hmm. So we always try to work with people to make sure that their name is correct on both documents. If you ever get summons and it's not a good time, Texas law allows everybody one deferral. No questions asked. Yeah. So you get a summons and you need to defer, it's your right to defer. And in Tarrant County, we have a special statute that says you're really great and we want to give you a second postponement.
Oh, nice.
So so if something, it has to be unforeseen.
Yeah.
So we can work around that. But generally, like people get so scared. I can appreciate it because they'll get their summons and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to be there tomorrow and I can't do this. What am I supposed to do? I mean, I get text messages all night long from people who's a friend of a friend that has a summons. What am I supposed to do? Call my office tomorrow. We'll reschedule you. That happens all the time. So I want people to know they always get a postponement. And then if you have a medical problem, doctor's letter. You can provide a doctor's letter. You don't have to come to court and tell everybody what's wrong with you. You literally can get us a doctor's letter, copy your disability award letter if you're on SSI or if you have VA benefits. We can use any of that paperwork. And with those situations, we can always process a permanent exemption if the paperwork determines that.
Okay.
And then the last thing I would say that I would want people to know about is the jury scams.
The jury scams.
Scams, yes. Have you heard of any of those?
Tell me about the jury scams.
They're terrible. They are terrible. They prey generally on the older population. Yeah. And what will happen is they will get a phone call that says, this is Detective or Sergeant so-and-so with Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, and you failed to report for jury duty. The judge is issuing a bench warrant for you. You need to come down to 350 West Belknap, which is an actual building that's downtown. Mm-hmm. You need to go to room 1B. We're going to process you. And the person's like, I never got a summons. Well, you know what? That's what they all say. So we're going to, you're going to be fined. We're going to go ahead and issue the warrant. And the person is generally scared. So, and they might have your social security number. They might have your driver's license number. I don't know where they get all that stuff, but they have stuff that makes it seem very legit. And so generally they'll tell the people, now the fine's $1,000. So if you want me to talk to the judge about waiving the arrest and that being on your permanent record and going through the booking, I can see if he'll let you make the payment over the phone. But the payment over the phone would have to be like one of those green dot money cards where you have to go to Walmart or somewhere and it's basically a cash card.
Right.
I had one lady that called me. She gave them $5,000.
Oh no.
Oh, it broke my heart. And she's like, I'm telling people this because I don't want it to happen to them. She's like, I'm an educated person. I have a master's degree. She said, I just kept thinking, this is a mistake. I'll pay this. We'll go to court. We'll settle it out. She's like, I'm not going to miss a meal, but she's like, it's just so daunting knowing that people are out there taking advantage of that. And that happens all the time. I would get the green dot money cards in the mail to my office that says, I paid the fine. Can you take this off my record?
Oh no.
And it breaks my heart. So we always put that out there to let people know that first of all, if you screw up and you don't report for jury duty, call us. We're always going to try to give you a new date to help you out on that. But if a judge issues a bench warrant, there's nothing you can do. You cannot call over the phone. You cannot pay a fine over the phone. You're going to have to report in person and the judge has to assess a fine.
And the jury department is not going to call you on the telephone. I would assume it would be by mail or if someone's going to come knocking at your door.
Right. If we do call you, because we do have people that are assigned to a court that don't show up. And we will call you and be like, where are you at? And if you don't report, the judge is going to issue a warrant. We would tell you that information, but we would never try to accept a fee or anything over the phone. And sadly, the fine is no less than $100, no more than $1,000. And it can include jail time. I had a guy one time that's like, I'm not coming. So I would go talk to the judge. I'm like, Judge, I personally have rescheduled this guy twice. Still not here today. Judge will issue a warrant. Warrant officers go pick him up. Stays in jail for 2 days. Takes him over to the judge. He's like, have you learned your lesson? He's like, I think I have. and they even put that one on the news. And that was a million years ago.
Yeah. So you mentioned the driver's license and the voter registration card. So the youngest juror could actually be 18 years old.
Right.
Is there an age limit at the other side? Is there a cutoff on age?
There's not a cutoff where you can't serve, but once you're 70, you have an option. You can not serve one time or you can take a permanent exemption, and that happens at 70. I've been in the jury room so long that it used to be 65, and when they moved it to 70, you cannot imagine how many people were so angry.
Well, 70 is the new 65.
Well, you would think. For me, I have a really good staff. I'm really blessed to have a lot of good people that were working. I've been there 32 years.
Yeah.
The lady under me has been there 31 years, and my next one's been there 25. So we have a really good rapport. We have a lot of people. We have great judges. Like one time I had a guy that showed up in a devil suit, horns on his head, the smoking jacket, jurors were taking pictures and tagging me on Instagram with it. And I'm like, this is a joke to you? He's like, I can't even serve because I'm a felon. So I looked him up, and he was a felon, and I saw that he had court the next week. So when he was in court the next week, I took the picture off my Instagram and took it to the judge. I'm like, I just want you to know he's on probation in your court, and this is how he showed up to the jury room.
Yeah. Judge
was not happy. He was like, no. So back before we were fully automated with the online system, we would have to do questionnaires in the jury room. And at that time, we had this little old man that came walking up the aisle, suspenders, pants. We didn't get his suspenders fastened. When he got to the front of the room, dropped his card, bent over to get it, pants fell straight down.
Oh, no.
It's one time I couldn't keep a straight face. It was and people were snapping pictures and he had a really good attitude about it. He's like, oh, can somebody help me get those?
Yeah.
It's the best thing.
There go the pants again.
Exactly.
Any of our listeners, if they had any questions about jury duty, I know there's an email address on the Tarrant County website. If you want to give out a phone number or an email address, how can they contact the jury bailiff of Tarrant County?
Okay, so the easiest thing is to go to the website and to email. It's juryroom, JURYROOM @tarrantcounty.com. This is the easiest email. You can email us back and forth. I take questions all the time. We have a FAQ page on our website. Any questions at all? We have people, when COVID happened, that people were so scared that they missed their jury duty and they're afraid they were going to jail. So people would just call us out of the blue and be like, do I have a warrant? So if there's ever a concern about that, just let us know. We're here to help everybody.
Paula Giaimo Morales, the jury bailiff of Tarrant County. Everyone who sits in that chair goes through what's known as the lightning round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you're no different. Okay. And unless you say, no, I really don't care to do this. But you seem to have a pretty good sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
So, before we get to that, what's your favorite ice cream?
Chocolate brownie, Ben & Jerry's.
Chocolate brownie?
The chocolate fudge brownie.
Okay.
Ben & Jerry's. Nice. The best.
All right. The lightning round is a very simple exercise of this or that.
Okay.
And there are 10 of them.
Okay. I love it.
All right. Night or day?
Night.
Book or movie?
Movie.
City or country?
City.
Country or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Weird or normal?
Normal. It's a fine line.
It's define weird or normal. Yeah. What is weird? Okay. Arctic or desert?
Arctic.
Soup or sandwich?
Oh, gosh. Sandwich.
Dine in or delivery?
Dine in.
What's your favorite smell?
It's a Bath and Body Works scent, and it's called Merlot.
Merlot.
Oh, my gosh. It's incredible.
Last one. You ready?
Yeah.
Paris or London?
Oh, I'm going to say London, because in my family, nobody wants to go to London with me.
Huh.
Isn't that the craziest thing? They're like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, I want to. And with my husband, he worked for American Airlines, so we've traveled a lot. Never got to go to London yet.
But you've been to Paris.
I've been to part of France, but not Paris.
Wow.
Yeah. But I will definitely try Paris and the Christmas time. That might be my new thing.
There you go.
I like it.
Paula Giaimo Morales, you have been a pleasure. Thank you for gracing us here at About Mansfield. And again, if you want to reach out to her, go to the Tarrant County website, look up jury services, and reach out to Paula if you have any questions about jury service. And again, thanks for being on About Mansfield.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it.